Assalamu alaikum. Going to bring it back here. Now, before we were 20 minutes ahead, but as us Muslims usually do, now we are 20 minutes behind. So we're going to try to keep us on track, but we want you to continue to reflect on the message of resistance. Your presence here is a resistance. Our resistance actually begins with putting our faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and accepting the qadr, accepting the hardship, and knowing that after hardship comes ease. That is Allah's promise, and we acknowledge that. And while we make dua and pray about relief through our injustice, we take action. Your action is your presence here. I want you to continue in resistance and acknowledging that anti-Muslim bigotry started way before 9/11. Anti-Muslim bigotry started in the bottom of slave ships with Africans, not slaves, brought here to be slaves and being stripped of their Islamic faith in order to make them subservient to a country that was establishing itself and needed free labor. I want you to continue to reflect on resistance, as we know there are so many people who, at a time, who are not here because they were slaughtered, they were murdered, and little did they know when they were taking their last breaths that they were, too, resisting. Remembering our three winners, the young people who were slaughtered in North Carolina. Remembering the Somali student, the young man who had led the prayers at the masjid and was murdered walking home. The Ozone Park imams who were both shot in the head, leaving the mosque just simply walking down the street. They follow in the footsteps of our brother Malcolm, who again showed us resistance and giving his life for justice. At this time, now that you have reflected on resistance, I don't want you to resist in the next few moments when we ask you for the money. Don't resist. Give it up. Now I'm going to bring you I'll tell you a short story. I met Michael Rashid when I was 21 years old. I was fresh out of college, and I was working at a PR firm, and I was given his account. At the time, he was working at Keystone Mercy Health Plan. And I remember walking into this room full of executives, and he was sitting there. And I think we were one of 3 African Americans in the room, which is normal of corporate America. And I noticed that his last name Rashid, and I said, oh, I hope he's Muslim. And we talked afterwards, and he gave me some pointers about functioning within corporate America and functioning within the agency where I was starting my career, and that's how we grew to know each other. For those of you who know Michael Rashid, throughout the years, he has had an extensive career in healthcare, providing healthcare for underserved markets, Medicare and Medicaid. Now in his retirement days, it doesn't seem like he's retired, because instead of going off on some island somewhere, he has used the relationships that he's used during his career, developed over his career, to put more effort into the Islamic community. Spends his time at Masjid Allah, forging ahead in educational endeavors. He also led the Philadelphia Coalition, and again assisted and forged through in helping us end a 30-year battle, actually, that began way before I could even speak, in securing the Eid holidays in the Philadelphia public school system, and not only the Philadelphia public school system, and the municipality for all Philadelphia government workers. That is a first time anywhere in the country. Round of applause. Michael has a master in business administration and finance from Harvard Business School, which is why we've elected him to collect the money. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you all to Michael Rashid.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. It's kind of heavy-duty night we got here tonight. But first of all, how about the brother, the tall brother who was holding that, you know? I wish I had him sometimes when I'm trying to find my son. He's out in the neighborhood. And he could go around with a lantern and try to find my son when he didn't come home on time. That would be extremely helpful. So let me ask you, how many of you have never been to this event before, the CAIR Banquet? Never been to the CAIR Banquet. Okay, so I'd say it's less than 25% have never been here. So for the 75% who have been here, you know what the deal is. This, for those of you who's first time, let me explain. This is the point in the program. It's been heavy duty. We've been talking about resistance, and we've been talking about all these things, you know, that of course we're all for. But this is the point where we take everybody in the room and we turn them upside down and we shake them until you have no money in your pocket. We used to harass people until, you know, people leaving the room, and by the time the guy finished trying to collect money, it'd be 12 people in the room. Everybody's going. You know, we're not going to do it that way tonight. You have, I mean, what can I say? You've had so many people talk about what CAIR is doing and all of these things. I mean, I don't know what else I can say. I just want to make one point as a non-Philadelphian, and I think we have a lot of people who were not born and raised in Philadelphia. And that is this, is something I learned soon after I came to Philadelphia. And that's the idea that as Philadelphia goes, America tends to go. This is really a leader, this city is really a leader in the cultural development of this country. And I could go on and on. I mean, you can go back to Ben Franklin. You can go back to the Independence Hall, and this was the cradle of liberty. You can go back to the Quakers and what they stood for. And you can bring it all the way up. Philadelphia is a leader in the cultural development of our country. In my community especially, I was born and raised in Alabama, and we used to always look for Philadelphia, what's going on in Philadelphia. And my point is that this banquet and Philadelphia CAIR and what you are doing with Philadelphia CAIR has ramifications way beyond just Philadelphia. Let me just say a little bit about Philadelphia and how it's a leader. Number one, all the dances come out of Philadelphia. All the dances. Did you know the twist came out of Philadelphia? The Chubby Checker and the twist, that's Philadelphia. The greatest rock and roll song, and this is according to the statistics, the greatest rock and roll song ever, Expressway to Your Heart, came out of Philadelphia. The Beard, did you know the Beard came out of Philadelphia? The Beard. You can go to LA right now and a brother's wearing a beard. They say, oh, he got the Philly beard on. The high top fade came out of Philadelphia. On a more serious note, Martin Luther King learned the concept of nonviolence here in Philadelphia. More African heads of state than any other country in Africa were trained right here at Lincoln University in Philadelphia. Okay? Kwame Nkrumah learned his tactics and his process in Philadelphia. W.E.B. Du Bois and the Philadelphia Negro, right here in Philadelphia. Bob Marley, right here in Philadelphia. I go on and on and on about Philadelphia. I think you get my point. And so when you hear the senator and you hear Rue, my good friend Rue, and others talking about what we are doing here at CAIR in Philadelphia, it's way more than just Philadelphia. And what you can do tonight to help CAIR Philadelphia will have and has had ramifications all over the country. So I am here. I don't know why they chose me. I don't think it's because of my educational background. I think they chose me because thanks to CAIR, I personally owe so much to CAIR. And I think the African American Muslims in Philadelphia owe so much to CAIR. And the first example, and you've heard it tonight, was the E Coalition that we put together last year. The E Coalition didn't start with CAIR. It started, as someone said, a long, long time ago, with some brothers and sisters who tried to get this thing off the ground, but they were unable to get it off the ground for various reasons. We got together with CAIR last year, and CAIR brought you, the Muslims in the suburbs, the doctors, the lawyers, the business people. CAIR worked their butt off to bring you to the table, even though you don't live in Philadelphia, but they brought you to the table to bridge the gap. You talk about a wall. I mean, there was a wall between the urban Muslims and the suburban Muslims. But they brought you to the table with us and helped us raise the funds that were necessary to get the word out, to influence people, to win the Eid holiday for over 65,000 Muslims who are in the public school system in Philadelphia. And we will never forget CAIR for what they did to help us out. That's just one of the things that CAIR can do. So we have, I think you can see it here, yeah, here. We have these totals here, monies that we have already raised. We are trying to raise $250,000 today. You don't need me to do a whole lot, because you've already heard a whole lot in terms of what CAIR is doing. Can you put up the slide with the circle, with the pie chart? I want folks to see that pie chart. Yeah, here we go, right here. So this is where CAIR is spending your money. The whole dollar that CAIR gets, they spend 13% empowering the Muslim community. They took some of that 13% and they helped develop and make a successful campaign out of the Philadelphia Eid Coalition. It empowered the Muslim community. The Muslim community, even though we are 200,000 strong in Philadelphia, 200,000 strong in Philadelphia, it was not empowered. We were not organized. We didn't have a coalition. We didn't have all these things. CAIR helped us to pull that stuff together, and it helped us to be successful. CAIR, a lot of people don't know what CAIR did for women's rights last year. And this is all in empowering the Muslim community. Thanks to Sister Zafra, I haven't seen her tonight, but thanks to Sister Zafra and some other sisters, they had a series of meetings with sisters, and they invited the brothers, but not a lot came. But they had a series of meetings with sisters where sisters were able to express some very strong, heartfelt feelings in terms of how they feel like they don't get respected in the masjid, in the community, not by non-Muslims, we're talking about Muslims. They didn't feel like that, and CAIR gave them a platform whereby they could express those feelings and hopefully put some resolutions into effect to address those things, empowering the Muslim community. Now, do you want to fund that or do you want to underfund that? We want to fund that. We want to put money into that kind of thing. Now, I know that many of you are from other countries. You could be from Syria, you could be from Iran, you could be from Egypt, and I don't care, almost any country I name that you could be from, there are a lot of bad things going on in your country, unfortunately. There's persecution, there's rape, there's murder, there's terrorism, there's all these bad things going on in your country, wherever you may be from. And God bless you for supporting your country and sending money back to your country. But you cannot, I appeal to you, do not be indifferent to the needs of us right here in America. Don't be indifferent to this. Don't be indifferent to the needs of your brothers and sisters, and even those of us here in America who are not your brothers and sisters. But there is, as you have heard, there is injustice here in America, and you cannot be indifferent to it. A great man once said, the opposite of love is not hate. The opposite of love is indifference. And that's what we're appealing you to take up, and don't allow that to happen. Do not be indifferent in spite of all of this that's going on. Do you know who said that? Any of our Jewish friends know who said that? The opposite of love is not hate, but it's indifference. Elie Wiesel, a man who saw fake news happening over and over again in his country. A man who saw certain groups being raised up and made the fall guy for all the problems in the country. A man who saw a leader who was playing on the emotions of the people, saying, let's make Germany great again. Let's take it back. Let's elevate our Caucasian white DNA, because it's the best DNA. And most of the people, a lot of the people in Germany at that time, they were indifferent. They said, oh, it will never happen. This is a great country. Things like that will never happen in Germany. So it was indifference that allowed that kind of thing to happen. And he made that statement, and I hope if you don't take anything away from tonight, you take away from tonight the idea that the greatest enemy that we have is not hate. The greatest enemy that we have is us being indifferent to the needs right here at home to our brothers and sisters. And there is no organization, as you have heard, there is no organization that's working harder and more effectively to address the needs of Muslims, urban Muslims, suburban Muslims, breaking that wall down. That wall needs to be broken down. Just like the wall was broken down between the Muslims in Mecca and the Muslims in Medina, and they helped each other out. And that's what CAIR is doing here in Philadelphia. And if CAIR can do it in Philadelphia, it's going to spread around the country. So I hope that you give. Is this all we have raised so far, brothers? $25,000? $44,000, well, we got to raise $250,000. I'm not doing a good job of turning you upside down and shaking the money out of your pockets. Come on, brothers and sisters, you got to help us out. Please help us out. We're still counting. We're going to continue to count the money. We encourage you to help us out. Don't be indifferent. Don't be indifferent to CAIR. Don't assume that the brothers at the next table are going to give the big donation to help us out. You need to give the donation at your table. I'm going to stop right there. I'm out of time. But like Arnold Schwarzenegger says, I'll be back. When they count a little bit more money, I'll be back, and we'll see what else we can do. Thank you so much.